close your eyes and think of a memory from 5 years ago. Any memory at all. For most people, what surfaces first is not a perfect summer afternoon. Not a meal shared with people they love. Not a moment of ordinary, quiet happiness. What surfaces is something sharp. Something that still carries a sting. A conversation that ended badly. A loss that came without warning. A moment when the world shifted, and nothing was quite the same afterward. Why does the human mind hold pain longer than joy? And what does the answer reveal about who we are? The phenomenon has a name in psychology: negativity bias. And it is not a flaw. It is a feature, an evolutionary inheritance so old it predates our species by millions of years. Consider what memory is actually for. Not for pleasure, not for nostalgia. Those are side effects. Memory evolved as a survival system. The brain is, at its core, a prediction machine. It stores information from the past in order to anticipate the future. And in the ancient environments where our brains were shaped, the most important information was not where the good fruit was. It was where the predator was. Where the danger was. What nearly killed you. Getting a pleasant surprise wrong has low consequences. Getting a threat wrong could mean your death. So the brain developed asymmetry. Negative experiences are encoded with greater emotional intensity, processed more deeply, stored with more detail, and retrieved more readily than equivalent positive ones. Researchers at the University of California have shown that negative stimuli produce greater neural activity than positive stimuli of equal intensity. The brain literally pays more attention to bad things. This is why a single cruel comment can overshadow 100 kind ones. Why one bad day at work can feel more real than a month of good ones. Why a moment of humiliation from 20 years ago can still arrive, unbidden, in the middle of the night. You are not weak for this. You are ancient. The psychologist John Cacioppo demonstrated that even when people cannot consciously identify whether an image is positive or negative, their brain shows a measurable negative response to threatening stimuli within a fraction of a second, far faster than conscious awareness. We react to danger before we know we are reacting. And trauma intensifies this process further. When an experience is accompanied by extreme emotional arousal, the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, essentially overrides normal memory storage. Instead of being filed in the orderly archives of long-term memory, traumatic experiences are stored in fragments. Sensory details, physical sensations, disconnected images. This is why trauma survivors can sometimes remember the smell of a room from decades ago, but not the sequence of events. The memory was not stored, it was embedded. Understanding this does not erase the weight of difficult memories, but it changes our relationship to them. You are not haunted because you are broken. You are haunted because your brain is doing precisely what it was built to do, keeping you alive, keeping you alert, keeping you from walking into the same danger twice. The tragedy is that in the modern world, the dangers are rarely physical. The threats are relational, professional, social. And yet the ancient alarm system responds to a difficult email with the same intensity it once reserved for a predator in the grass. The work of a human life, in many ways, is teaching that ancient system the difference. There are practices that genuinely help. Psychologists call it positive neuroplasticity, the deliberate act of allowing positive experiences to fully land. When something good happens, most of us process it in seconds and move on. The negativity bias means the bad stays longer by default. The intervention is simple, if not easy. Pause with good things. Sit with them. Let them have the same space, the same attention, the same processing time that the difficult things take without being asked. The brain can change. This is perhaps the most important discovery of modern neuroscience. We are not fixed. The architecture of memory and emotion that felt carved in stone is, in fact, living tissue, responsive to experience, to practice, to intention. Your painful memories are not who you are. They are what your brain decided was most important for your survival. But survival is not the same as living. And you, unlike your ancient ancestors, have the extraordinary option of choosing what to remember. After all, consider this. If sadness is remembered more easily than happiness, then much of what you believe about your life may be incomplete. Imagine reading a book where every difficult chapter is highlighted in bright red ink, while the joyful chapters are printed in faint gray. The story itself has not changed, but your perception of it has. This is often what memory does. Many people look back on their lives and conclude that they have suffered more than they have loved, failed more than they have succeeded, lost more than they have gained. But memory is not a neutral historian. It is a survival mechanism, and survival has never been interested in fairness. Think about a typical day. A stranger smiles at you. Someone holds a door open. You enjoy a good meal. The sun feels warm on your skin. You hear a song you love. These experiences often pass through consciousness without leaving a strong trace. Yet one awkward conversation can occupy your thoughts for days. One criticism can echo for weeks. One rejection can remain alive for years. The mind magnifies what it believes may protect you in the future. Unfortunately, that protection often comes at a cost. The cost is perspective. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as emotional weighting. Certain experiences receive more psychological significance than others. Not because they are objectively larger, but because the brain decides they are more relevant to future survival. And once you understand this, something remarkable becomes possible. You begin questioning your memories, not whether they happened, but whether they deserve the amount of power you have given them. A painful memory may be accurate, yet its emotional dominance may be exaggerated by a nervous system designed for a world that no longer exists. The brain that helped your ancestors survive predators now analyzes social interactions with the same intensity. A delayed response to a message, a mistake during a presentation, an uncomfortable silence. These events trigger ancient systems that evolved for life and death situations. The body reacts, the heart races, the mind searches for danger, and memory records the event with unusual detail. Years later, the emotional imprint remains. But awareness changes everything. When you recognize that your mind naturally gravitates toward painful memories, you stop treating every memory as objective truth. You become an observer. You notice the process. You see the machinery behind the experience. And this creates space. Space between you and the memory. Space between the event and the story you tell yourself about it. Within that space lies freedom. Because memories are not only records of the past, they are also architects of the future. The memories you revisit most often shape your expectations. They influence your confidence, your relationships, your willingness to take risks, your sense of identity. What you repeatedly remember becomes part of who you believe you are. This is why intentionally revisiting positive experiences matters. Not as an act of denial, not as toxic positivity, but as a correction, a balancing of the scales, a recognition that the mind's default settings were designed for survival, not happiness. The good moments of your life deserve attention too. The moments of kindness, the moments of courage, the moments when you kept going despite uncertainty, the moments when someone loved you, the moments when you surprised yourself, the moments that proved you were stronger than you thought. These memories are real. They happened. They belong to your story just as much as the painful ones. Perhaps more. Because pain teaches lessons. But meaning is what gives life direction. And meaning is often found in moments the brain initially overlooks. A quiet conversation. A peaceful afternoon. A simple act of connection. A feeling of gratitude. These moments rarely arrive with alarms. Yet they are often the moments that matter most. So the next time a painful memory returns unexpectedly, pause before accepting its authority. Ask yourself a simple question. Is this memory important because it defines my life? Or because my brain was designed to remember threats? The answer may change everything. Because the goal is not to erase painful memories. The goal is to place them in their proper context. To see them as part of your story, not the entirety of it. Your mind remembers pain because it wants you to survive. But you are here for more than survival. You are here to live. And living requires remembering that there was beauty, too. Not only the storms, but the sunlight between them. Not only the losses, but the love that remained. Not only the wounds, but the healing that followed. And perhaps that is the deepest truth about memory. We do not always remember what was most beautiful, but we can learn to notice it. And once we notice it, we can choose to keep it. Because what you remember shapes who you become. Choose carefully.